Hey everybody, Eric here with Crane Tools. In this video we are going to take a look at the Crane 370 Recess Scribe, the various parts of it, how it's set up, and how it's used. So let's start with the body itself. It is a springy steel that allows me to push the pin down into the material as I'm scribing. Next we have the pin. You can see it up top and down here. That's what's used for scribing. Underneath we have a rounded seam guide. This will run against the lower piece of the vinyl to allow for scribing. Up top here we have a two-part brass thumb knob. So this lower knob I can loosen. This allows me to change the offset of the pin in relation to that seam guide. If my pin is aligned with the back of my seam guide, I'm going to have a net seam. If my pin is forward of that, I'm going to have a gap. So for heat welding, we want to set the gap at approximately 1/64 of an inch, which is roughly the thickness of a business card, okay? This upper brass knob, it can loosen. This allows me to change the pin depth. I could remove the pin completely to change it, and we should replace these whenever they're dull. We want a sharp pin for scribing any seam. Okay, and it allows me to set the depth of that pin as well in the material. So there's the tool itself. Now, how do we set this up? I want to start with a scrap of material. You want to cut a 6" by 6" or an 8" by 8" piece of the material that you're going to be using. If you cut the piece smaller and you're trying to set the scribe up, it's going to sit at an angle like this. If it's at an angle like this, the scribe is not going to be as accurate. And of course, with commercial vinyl, with linoleum, we want everything as precise as possible. So get a piece 6 to 8 inches square, set it up or cut it square. Next thing I want to do is take a square or a straight edge something and my utility knife, and I want to put a 2 to 3 inch slice right in the center of that. Now be sure that the blade is straight up and down as possible. If we have some tilt to the blade one way or the other, it's going to cause a bevel in my setup piece, and once again the scribe won't be as accurate. So I've already put a slice in here, as you can see. Next I want to take the lower part of the tool here, and I want to slide it into that scrap like that so that the seam guide is hitting one side of this seam, okay? Now once that's done, I'm going to loosen this lower thumb knob, and if I want a net seam, I'm going to slide that pin so that it's right up against the edge of my seam. I'm going to lock that knob down. I'm going to take it over to my actual seam. I'm going to scribe about 2 inches of the beginning of that seam, see how it looks. If it's net, I'm good. If it's a little over, if it's a little under, I'm going to have to adjust. If I want to do heat welding, I'm going to push that pin forward about a 1/64 of an inch, lock the recess scribe down again, and test it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my seam, do a couple inches, take my utility knife, cut all the way through, make sure my gap is appropriate. That's how you set the recess scribe up. It's going to be some trial and error, but once you get it in, I recommend taking a pair of pliers and locking this down so that it doesn't change on you. I would also lock the upper knob so that my pin doesn't change, because sometimes when I'm depressing, that pin can push out. So both of those need to be tight. Now, guys, seriously, don't let anybody else adjust your recess scribe. If I set mine, it's staying in my pouch. If somebody else needs one, they can either get their own, or if they use mine, they are not allowed to adjust it, okay? Another good idea I do is if I have 2 of these, so I'll have one for net, and I'll put an N on it, or whatever lets you know that it's set for net seams. If I'm gonna have a gap, I'll put a G on it. That's my heat welding scribe. I keep them there, I keep them locked. Don't let anybody else adjust them, don't let anybody else touch them. Of course, on a new job, you wanna test it just to make sure it is still there, but super good. So once it's all set up, obviously, how do we do the seam? Well, the first shot, we would go as normal. We would take our selvage edge trimmer, we would shave off that first piece, glue it into the vinyl. Second shot comes in, glue it down, it's overlapped 3/4 of an inch to an inch. If it's overlapped 1.5 inches, it's okay. We have 2 inches of play here, so it's not gonna be the end of the world, but you are losing material, you know? So get your overlap, get everything glued in, slide the lower piece in again, so it's up against the edge of the bottom piece, and the pin is hitting the upper piece. Now, it's very important as I'm pulling this to keep it at a right angle, completely perpendicular to the seam. If I'm having my recess scriber forwards or backwards, or if I'm not keeping it tight up against that lower piece, we're gonna have inconsistent gapping or inconsistent net seam. Some will be overlap, some will be gap, some will be net. It's very important to keep it tight up against your lower piece and keep it perfectly perpendicular to your seam as you pull. I hope this video has been helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always find your local crane rep. Go to www.cranetools.com and look for the contact page. You can get a hold of Eric in the west, Darwin in the center, or Philip in the right on the East Coast. All right, thank you for your time.